With my weary face in front of you and your eyes, I'm Ken like this is Anytime with Ken Alden.
What are you, like a local tavern bard? With my weary face, I tell the tale.
Oh, feeding the squirrels every day I do. It's our
How
show,
are the
buddy.
squirrels? How are they
Squirrels.
doing?
Squirrels are good. The lead squirrel, the one who figured out first that you can get a bounty of nuts at my backyard table, is a kingpin now.
Okay.
He's chased off other squirrels. Today, a crow landed on the chair next to him. Dude didn't even budge. He just was like, "These are my nuts," and the crow flew away. I've created a monster, Alden.
All right, and so the kingpin is squirrely.
Squirrely.
A squirrel, and then there's also Kylo Ren the squirrel now.
Kylo the squirrel. Haven't seen
Kylo
him
the
this
squirrel.
week. A little worried about Kylo. He might have gotten in some trouble out there. He has a little scar on his nose, so he's a scrapper. And then there's the mumps, which are the unnamed ones, because I can't tell them apart yet. They're the younger ones.
Sure.
That Squirrely is running off now.
Okay, I'm worried about Kylo the squirrel. I hope he found his scavenger girlfriend out there somewhere, and he's just living his life.
I hope so too, man. That's my life. How's your life? I think we're both exhausted today, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like I'm exhausted of my own volition. Like, it's my fault. I was up till like 5:30, just playing video games and watching television to try to stave off the feeling of dread in life. Today, I feel like ass. I woke up today to realize that there's no coffee in the house, which just immediately ruined everything for me. It changes the entire start. Not physically, but just like I need that as part of like my mental routine. Like, that's my cigarettes.
Right. I did not have coffee today. I generally have one cup every day, and I didn't make coffee today. What does that mean, Alden? What does that mean? We're both coffeeless.
Really bad. That's not a good sign.
Wow.
Can one of you like astrology girlies out there like tell me? That's got to mean something, right? You guys find
what does that mean? Yeah. I don't know. What is your spiritual guide tell you? Yeah, I don't know. I just woke up today and was like, I'm choosing violence. I guess I was like, I didn't want to go through the hassle of making coffee, and now that I make it for myself, it's easy. But I have a giant coffee pot. Like, it's a giant one. So I just feel like I don't know. So I didn't even do that. I didn't walk to 7-Eleven to get coffee. And here we are, Alden. We're both suffering for it.
Do you sleep in ever? Like, even in a depressive way? Like, I'm not going to move. Like,
no. I generally, 9 a.m. is my wake up time. I'm usually up to like 1 or 2.
That's
so
disgusting.
Yeah,
9 a.m.
Yeah. I got friends who get up like 6:30. I've been getting up, like my brain has been popping open like at 6:30 to 7. Then I'll get up sometimes. Like, if I'm up at 7:30, I'm always like, man, I got so much done today, and it's like 9:30. I should do this every day. And the next day I sleep till 10.
Sure. Yeah, I think every now and then we have those moments where we're like, the early risers are right. And then, but then the next time that I sleep in, which is usually the next day, because I never do 2 early rises in a row if I can avoid it.
Right.
Once I left the morning radio hours behind, I never want to go back to it. And so sleeping in, I'm always like, this is the best.
Does that have something to do with it? Because I used to have to be at work like 6 a.m. Well, the show started at 6 a.m. I probably should have got to work at 5. I got to work at 5:55. And when the time I was done with it, I was like, there's no reason. And then I used to work. My shift started at 6 a.m. at my old security job for a while. And I'm with y'all. Once I got free of that, nah. The other thing is I have friends who are early risers, and they're kind of got this like braggadocious attitude around it. But mother truckers, you're not up till 2 a.m. I'm up doing things at 2 a.m. getting life done. You're just up early getting life done. It's all even in the wash. Let's not act like one is more important than the other.
For sure. I mean, I will act like one's more important. I will say that us night owls, we're holding it down because we're here for the cultural moments. We're here for the like, and that means so many things, right? Like early risers, they don't know who fucking won Best Picture. They're in bed. They don't know. I know because I was watching.
Right.
You know, they
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
who won the championship. You know, in a steel cage. I know that. You know, they
That
they maybe stay up once in a while, like for the Super Bowl. You know, that's it.
That was when I worked a security job and had to be at work at 6 a.m. You know, you're going to bed early, natural, it happens. I remember Monday Night Raw would start at 9 p.m. and I'd be like nodding off by the opening comments. That life is so, I've so far left that life.
Yeah, you mentioned those hours. Same for me. Like 6 a.m. Showtime start. I could not do the 5:55 roll in though because as assistant producer, I was expected to print out all the prep, do all these things, be there. So it's like I had to be there ideally at 5 a.m. 5:15, 5:30 was more what happened to me, but I had to like plug in the host's headphones for him because he was like an old timer that just expected everything to be ready.
Oh, you see, I wouldn't have done that. I would have made you get a donut for me. By the way, this is what they call podcast banter. This is podcast banter.
Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the good banter yet because I haven't even mentioned the actual thing that has given me pause and dread and pain, which we will get into in a second. But so it's been an interesting week. I was sick this week.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
I was sick. You don't have to feel bad for me. I have a very good track record. Me getting sick is a very rare occurrence. I went about 12 years without ever getting sick. That was like something I used to pride myself on. Yeah, those days are gone. But so it's been a week. There, you know, some friends are going through some stuff. You're going through some stuff. I'm going through some stuff. We're not being fucking paid enough. Nothing is going well. The government's falling apart, if it even exists anymore. Fascists are running wild. You know, we're still in the middle of a genocide. There's all these things going on. And I say all this to say that I was right there at the breaking point. And I was trying to choose joy. I was trying to, you know, get excited for Mission Impossible, which we'll get into when we get to our main topic. I was trying to, you know, dive into television shows and find love there. You know, we'll talk about Hacks a little bit later. But I, you know, thought, okay, maybe I can stave off a breakdown. And then because of you, I watched the thing that finally pushed me over the edge. And that was, and that's the thing that I'm getting to at the end of the banter section is holy balls. So somehow we were just texting about life or whatever. And I made a joke about flat earthers and you responded. And then I said something to you like, do you think they actually have anything to back this up? Like, does they have anything like for the scrutiny? Is there anything beyond just saying it's flat? And you were like, oh, you haven't seen the documentary? I said, no. You said, you have to see the documentary. It's called Behind the Curve. It's on Prime. And check it out. And you hyped it up as being very good and like well made, but also like horrifying. Like you weren't saying like these people are great. You were just like, it will make you understand. And I watched it this morning, you know, partially in bed, partially while I was finding out that there was no coffee, which probably compounded my anger at everything that I was seeing. And oh my God, this is it, guys. We're cooked. Like my Letterboxd review of this film simply says the idea of these people voting is horrifying to me. Like
and that they did.
Frightening. This is, guys, it's really bad. And I should be able to take Ken to court for like abuse for the fact that I watched this movie.
This is perhaps the greatest documentary ever made. It's one of the greatest documentaries ever made because it is, if you're struggling with the comprehension and the understanding of why we are in the position we are in, why you and I and others are counting down to the moments where our Medicare is going to be gone. Like, I don't know if I'll have medical insurance once everything gets passed, because it will get passed. The Senate, I don't trust them not to.
Yeah, the Senate are not, who are the same people, like the same guys.
Yeah, this
same guys, different faces.
Yeah, this pain in my side that I'm about to go get, see if I can get a doctor to look at. I'm gone. I'm a walking zombie at this point. And this documentary, Behind the Curve, by Daniel J. Clark, released in 2018, and it was shot in like 2015, 2016, early 2017, right? That and you know, obviously Trump's first election had already taken place and everything, but like those are heady days, Alden, where we were still kind of like, well, maybe we could pull this out, or you know,
Yeah.
we were cooked from the start, and we're cooked because of the things you see in this doc. These people are voting. In fact, they're probably in office, some of them now.
Yeah, and sometimes, and this is going to be painful to hear for a lot of people, especially in my demographic, they vote with more organization and more fervor than we do. In a lot of ways, they show up. They fall in line. They don't purity test each other. They don't demand better of each other. They don't have a moral standard. They don't nothing. There's nothing. They are insane people, because as you find out by the 30, 40 minute mark or something like that, it's 90-minute doc, I believe. It starts to get into it's also the vaccines. It's also them trying to convince us that men are women and women are men and blah, blah, blah. It's so clearly making the documentary is not pro them. It's just presenting the full picture. It's of their system.
And it doesn't go after them, unless you disagree with that. It doesn't go after them. It just presents them. It does land on some things I agree with overall, which is this idea of having some sort of empathy for them. That scientist who's up there saying, "Hey, it's on us to be ambassadors for science and everything," which is you know, maybe a spitting into a tidal wave at this point. But so I like all that. But you just see Alden, what we're up against. We're up against lonely people who are glomming onto things. And despite facts being presented to them, it doesn't matter. What matters is the community. And we always talk about community being a positive thing in Star Wars and everything, and it is. But the doc touches upon it, of those being pushed out to the fringes, and then they connect. And wow, this doc came out before COVID. I have not seen it since 2019. God. And I watched it with just like, that's what I was texting. I was like, dude, this is the most important piece of media ever. It needs to be studied. These people need to be studied, because it's so easy to mock them. It's so easy. And by the way, go for it. But it's so easy to just, I think when this doc came out, it was a curiosity. I had a conversation that I learned about this doc from Nathan Hamill. He and I were talking about it at a bar one night next to Dave Foley of Kids in the Hall. Who
what a lineup
who is got problematic alien views, I'll say. But we were doing this like snicker. It was a snicker, right? And then now I watch it. I was like, we shouldn't have snickered. We should have taken notes and know how to combat this, because it's everything that we're in now. This doc covers.
So really, I have Nathan Hamill to blame for the fact that I had to see this through the grapevine. No, it is. Yep. It's really, really concerning, y'all. And it's like, there's just no surprise. The fact that this documentary was made, you're going in and you're going to see something whacked. Like, it's not like it's shocking, but it is, to your point. It's the concerning stuff is more so in the this word will come up a lot today, in the cultiness of it all. And it's in the to your, you made a good point. Like, there's that one scientist from Caltech who is like, look, there are people that are always looking for the alternative for whatever reason, that feel like this, it talks about that concept of impostor syndrome. And they have the psychiatrist there that was like, in one conversation out of any person, I could probably get one iffy belief out of them. And like, they try to have like like you said, an empathy, but I would even characterize it too as like a reasonable doubt baseline for all of society. Like, they try to say like, even the most normal amongst us has that thing where it's like, and and I do think that's true. I think I'm a pretty normal, in touch with reality thinker, but like, I've got my, like, every once in a while, like, my thing, like my thing right now is, just in case we're being watched or listened to.
What's the thing? What's your thing?
I think that the Luigi jury is going to be completely rigged. I have no evidence to support that, but there's just no way on God's green earth are they going to get a guilty on this guy without paying out the jury. We'll talk about that at a later date. But I am at this point, like, there's just no way in hell are they going to convict unless they rig it. So we'll talk about that later. But free Luigi, by the way. But I just like am so, in touch with that. So like baseline, I got it. And then you start to get into, this first guy, Mark Sargent. Mark Sargent is like sort of like the main character, quote, quote, and through his entry into the community and through his becoming their equivalent of an influencer, their equivalent of a YouTube star. He becomes your entryway into meeting all these other people, and it is like he has a childishness to him. He has an arrogance to him that he doesn't even realize, which is a trend amongst all of them. An immense arrogance that comes with all conspiracy theory of, well, clearly I know better. And like you said, this being made before COVID, it's like, holy shit, like the level that we would later see. And that we're still seeing right now. This is the week, guys. By the way, shout out to boosters. We loved you while we had you. Like, you know, that's over. So like things like that, you see the through lines. But I had this reaction again, standing in my kitchen, realizing there was no coffee. I'm already on edge. And this guy starts describing all of the connections he's made. And like, they got to the part with like him and this other woman, I forget her name. I would apologize.
Steer. Yeah.
Okay,
Patricia
cool.
Steer.
I'm glad you know.
Yeah.
So him and Patricia, they have like this flirtation that starts. And first of all, guys, it's really, really, really cringe. Even independent,
really awkward. It's really
independent of what they believe in, which is already horrible. They're just cringe. So it's like they're on YouTube together, and a commenter's like, "Are you guys a couple?" And she's like, "A couple of friends." And it's like, Jesus Christ! And you see that Bart Simpson heart crack in his eyes.
Oh, it's so painful.
So it's painful on that level, anyway. But then you start to realize, like, these are fundamentally, and I say this in the non-gendered sense. I don't want to just throw it at her. I'm throwing it at him mostly. Attention whores. Like, these are people that are so deeply needy for validation and for celebrity. And it's like, we've joked on this show before, and I'm not going to name these people, but like, there are people in some of the spaces we run in that go by their usernames out in public and like things like that. And it's like, this is that to the like nth degree. Like, this is that to a concerning degree of like, you know, I've said before, I'm like, you know, and I say this with so much love for him for not being this way. But like our buddy Alex Damon, Star Wars Explained. Imagine if he was walking around in public saying, "Yeah, call me explained." I would be like, this guy needs to get slapped. But he doesn't do that, thank God. So, but like, these people are all that. They have all bought into their own hype so much so, and they're also like damaging things. And they start by like showing Sargent addressing like the criticism that they are an anti-intellectualist movement, which they are, and then, you know, then immediately they pivot to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who it's like, I don't like him, but like, he's got the professional like bona fides to at least get respect. And they're like, he's our Voldemort, who must not be named. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Ken, it was really bad. It was bad.
I'm very glad I brought you in on this. And I know it's almost like we're speaking of a little bit of an inside joke for those who haven't watched it, these names and everything, but they're bigwigs and they're still going in the flat Earth movement. In fact, I'm sure it's gotten bigger, and it follows them. The kind of conclusion of it is going to this Flat Earth Society meeting in North Carolina, basically a convention. And yeah, even that, when Mark shows up, he's got like his press badge and he's like, "Look," I'm like, "Oh, that's where your soul's broken. Like, you think panels mean something." Like, you know, when like, and all along the way, you meet all the characters. Matt Powerland, who's a former NASA guy who was the first to crack the code on the flat Earth movement. Like, it's just, and they hate each other.
Guy,
that weird guy. And I won't spoil stuff for those who are going to watch it, but there's two big points in it. There's a couple points, but there's two big points where a couple of the characters, there's a side character who's doing this laser research that basically they're like, "Hey, you know, we're going to prove it." And then there was something with Patricia Steer, because there's conspiracies about her and she's kind of running through it. They solve it, right? When you listen to them, they're like, the truth has been presented to us, and they run away from it. And that is the core of the doc to me, how scary they can be. And I don't know how to fill the holes in their soul. I really don't. God, that book I love, The Storm Is Here, which is about COVID protesters that end up, you know, the whole story leads to the steps of the Capitol building on January 6th, Luke Mokelson's book. That's why he came back from covering a war overseas, as he had been doing for 20 years, because he was like, I know these guys. These are the military guys that don't really believe in the cause. They believe in the community and the connection they got. And I see it over there. They're just as empty there as they are here. I got to go follow that story. And that's what's at play here.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't have the answer. I'm just like, but it was stunning. And I'm glad I pulled you in. Coffee or no?
No, it's insane. And the psychology of it, it's like they almost are aware, right? It's like low sentience. It's like an NPC that like gives you a few side quests, but isn't quite in the story. Like they almost got it, because Sargent even addresses the fact that he started as trying to be a skeptic of it, trying to pick it apart,
to debunk. Yeah.
Which like even that language is also like weird to me, because it's like, we don't need to debunk something that is like ass backwards stupid. Like that does not need the debunking. The conspiracy theories, we don't need to give them the respect to debunk them. Like, in my opinion, like they are what they are for a reason. Like your existence is trying to debunk fact. So it's like we're not debunking you. We're mostly ignoring you. But anyway, so then he says like, and then in my evidence, I ended up finding the clues, and that led me down. And so it's like, but he's not aware enough to realize that what it is you're not fulfilled in life, and now you have, and we've seen this in all paths. Like, I started talking about this franchise I liked, and now I grift on it and hate and spread bullshit. Like, it is the same in effect pipeline, just about different topics, and 100%. It's pretty horrifying. And we're going to be talking today about crazy people of a different variety, but we had to start today by talking about those crazy people who I don't enjoy and don't like, and deserve to be made fun of at every turn. But we will be talking about crazy people today that we do like. But as I've started to do recently, I jot down some things just for us to touch on that I think about throughout the week. So, Ken, would you like to hear some of the things that I put in my iPhone notes?
I'd love to. Note me, baby. Note me.
I put this on Blue Sky and it didn't get the traction that I wanted. So, as usual, I'm going to re-up here where people can't ignore it.
Wait, who's seeking attention?
Me.
Are you that Alden Diaz?
I am that Alden Diaz. Somebody got really upset one time that I put that in my name, not understanding that I had just lost. I did that because I had lost my old account. I wouldn't have that name if I didn't lose my account. And so I was like, I got it. So I borrowed that from Kevin. I took that he.
Yeah.
And I got locked out of my old Twitter, which had way more followers and way more pull. and it was very annoying. And then some asshole was like, no, you're going to put that in your name. And anyway.
There you go.
So speaking of names, I was watching John Mulaney's late night show. And he had Alanis Morissette on as a musical guest. And, I love Alanis. And I think lots of people love Alanis. And then I was thinking, and this is a Gen X question, why didn't Alanis as a baby name catch on? Like, why don't I know a bunch of girls named Alanis? Like, were you guys just not naming your children after the people you liked? Is that a thing that only we do?
First of all, I wasn't fornicating when she was there. This isn't on me. I was a late bloomer, Alden. I did. That's a fair question. I don't think. Yeah, I think it's a fair question. I think we should check Canada, though. That's where you should check.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, because I asked this in part because I did grow up with a few Britneys, and I know for sure 2 of them were named after Britney Spears.
You can tell by the spelling, right? If it's Brittany or Brittany.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to get into the whole Britney thing. I don't want to offend people, but like, there is a canonical spelling of Britney, and it's Britney. The TTNI, get that out of me. What are we doing?
I mean, my friend Brittany Wallach, she'll fight you.
I could go TTANY. I could respect that.
That's her.
That's at least a human name. Brittany with the TTNI is something like that was what George Lucas would call someone. Like, that's just that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so it's like there was some Britneys. I knew someone that was a Destiny. I don't know if it was a Destiny's Child thing though, but I'm gonna assume that it was, because why else? I knew a couple people named for actors. Like I knew a Keanu who was named for Keanu Reeves. He was in the same grade as me. But Atlantis is like, it's right there. And it's like my generation, we've got people naming their kids Daenerys before the 8th season, which is pretty funny. We've got Daenerys. Side note about that. And
I'm looking.
by the way, Casually Talk comes back today, y'all. Casually Talk is back
Mm-hmm.
live, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. It really pisses me off when people name their kids Khaleesi because that's not her name. It's a title.
Who's doing that?
Quite a few people, man. More than Daenerys. I physically have met babies named Khaleesi out in the wild.
Wow. By the way, I have the top 5 female names for births in 1995.
Okay.
By state.
That was the year I was born.
By state.
Go to Connecticut.
Connecticut. Emily, Jessica, Sarah with an H, Samantha, Ashley. They're essentially all versions of that. Like there's Jessica's and Ashley's everywhere. There's the Britney shows up with the A and I in 2 states. Number 2 in one, number 4 in the other state. Kentucky and Louisiana. And then 2nd in Mississippi. So I don't think Britney Spears is Southern, right? So South Carolina, not a lot of Britneys, but the one spot where Britney is the number 1 name in 1995 is West Virginia. Wow.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
All boring.
It's not. You get a Madison, a Taylor. Mm-hmm. There's a Taylor. See, Jasmine, District of Columbia. Jasmine.
That says it. It's like so Gen X. You guys weren't like fandom namers. You guys were not going to musicians and actors and things. Like I am named for an obscure television show. My mom. Up until like the 5th or 6th month of her pregnancy with me was going to name me Skylar, which is like, what?
Okay.
Skylar.
We call you Sky Diaz.
The hell is that? It's like, I do think in that name predestination is a little bit real. And like there's that meme that's like predestination is real. Just look at Tom Hanks's kids. You name your son Colin, you get a Colin. You name them Chet, you get a Chet. That has turned out to be very true for him. But like she was watching a soap opera called Loving that was about like these 2 warring families, and one of them, their last name was Alden, and that's where she pulled my name. So I am technically named for a show, though it not being big. And Alden in traditionally, I think it was a girl's name and a surname in like London.
Right.
So, I at least have some story, but like you guys in general, like no, but like now people name their kids for fandom all the time. I mean, right here, Mano Jedi Avenger says we had a Beyonce at my school in Arizona. Says that there's a kindergartner named Daenerys at their school. So it's definitely way more common now. There's an Anakin who listens to Force Center.
Yeah, Anakin Crespin.
Anakin Crespin has commented throughout the years. And producer Steve. By the way, Steve, it's okay that you call yourself producer Steve. Okay, that's you don't have it on a T-shirt yet. His name is producer.
Is it producer Steve? I have a child to name soon. This is stressing me the fuck out. Yeah, I would imagine. I do want to study on when it became really acceptable, and I don't have a problem with it. To be clear, that you could name your kids after characters,
you like.
Pop culture. Yeah,
people.
It happens. I had a acquaintance, kid in my high school class. His name was Donovan. His younger sister was named Layla. So their dad and mom were clearly rock fans from the 60s and 70s. I got that. Every once in a while, that stuff would pop up.
Yeah. I remember. So when we were in London, there was that bartender Layla that got into a bunch of trouble for giving us free drinks and like all that stuff. And she
Layla.
was named.
She was nice.
She was awesome. She was awesome. And she was named for the song. And I remember she was telling me like, my name's Layla, Laila, and I said,
how was that? What did she say?
Laila. And I said, are you named for the song? And she was like, yeah. And I said, oh, sweet. Yeah. Derek and the Dominoes. And she was like, no, it's Eric Clapton. And I was like, yeah, like Derek and the Dominoes. And she was like, no, it's Eric Clapton. And I was like, this is killing me. I was like, this is killing me. I can't pull out my phone and be like, well, you see.
I love that. I hate when I'm sometimes back in the corner on things where I'm like, There were they're unrelated, but there was a one of my jobs I did a couple years ago. One of the writers, I said, "Oh, pleasure to meet you. I knew about you after I left Screen Junkies. They used to bring you over all the time." And she was like, "Oh, great. What year was that?" And I was like, I mean, I left in 2016." She's like, "Oh no, I was on way before that, back when blankety blank was there." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I was no, I was the show you were on. I launched." I launched the show in 2015. You were not on it. No, you got your dates wrong. And I just like, I won't. Okay. It's a tough spot to be.
All right. Yeah. So aside about her, Tully Quinn says there was definitely a spike in Hermione's. That is true. There was
Hermione. See, it's just
yeah. Tully Quinn. Also, Samantha's disappeared. I hear that sometimes, but I will say, my first, not my first, but like my first like kind of quote unquote adult girlfriend was named Samantha. One of my best friends is named Samantha. I think Samanthas are out there. They're just maybe not as big as they were maybe in the 80s and 90s. Lauren Romo had a comment here that I lost, if I could find it here. Oh yeah, Lauren says that she used to get asked if she was named after Lauren Bacall. That's cool though, at least. You know, I would be like, yes. I would just pick a Lauren. I would pick a cool anything. You know, if I was a John, I would definitely pick a really cool John to hide the fact that it was clearly biblical. You know, like you got to try to find an identity.
Steve says we just shifted fandoms from the Bible to pop culture is all. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. David went to uni with a guy called Bob Fett. Get out of here, David. Get out of here.
I want to believe that though.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. I don't know. We've gone down this rabbit hole, but I take the blame for not having children in the 90s. There's a good chance I would have named my daughter Atlantis or Shirley or Liz. Yeah. Well, I would have been with Liz Fair. That's the thing. If I had had kids in the 90s, it would have been because.
And then you have to explain to Liz Fair why you're naming your baby after someone else. So, you know,
that's true. That's true. Mm-hmm. She'd like Atlantis.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad we went into this name talk. If anybody here has a cool story for why you're named what you're named, share it in the comments because I always enjoy that. There are things that I never get tired of. I love knowing why people are named what they're named. I love knowing how their parents met. Like there are like those chestnuts that like icebreakers that I still find joy in. There are some that I don't care about at all. Like I don't care what your favorite color is. I don't care at all. I really don't even care like what your hometown is unless it's super interesting. Forest green? Is that really your favorite color, green?
It brings out my eyes, Alden.
Oh, okay. I see. You could say that to try to be cute, but I know the real reason is because of Return of the Jedi Luke, which I respect. That's the real reason.
Yeah, okay.
Second thing I wrote down this week is just something I'm tired of, and it's something I have to deal with, and it's something that you deal with as well. Okay. And all of us, anybody over the age of really 25 is dealing with this. I am sick and tired of scheduling calls with the people that I love, man. I'm tired of it. I remember the joy of teenagedom was just calling your buddies whenever. And then even like 18 to like 21. And now it's like you try to call a friend, they don't answer. And they're like, hey, man, sorry, I was in a meeting. Or, hey, man, sorry, you know, I'm with the kids or like whatever. And I do this too. Like people call me like, I sometimes I get calls during ANYTIME. Oh, sorry, I was on air. And then it's like, okay, well, how about we all get on a call this coming Tuesday? If everybody's free, we can catch up. I hate it. I'm tired of scheduling love and joy and bonding. Fucking sucks.
This is by far the oldest you've ever sounded. And I want to know more about this. Because, you know, I don't like phone calls. I don't like to talk to anyone unless it's text. So how did I turn into a Gen Zer, and how did you turn into a boomer? Let's run through this here.
It just there's just something about it where like I because maybe you know, I acknowledge I was fortunate to be like surrounded by a tight knit group of friends that were all still friends, and I know that's not common, you know, for like high schoolers. Okay. So I was like, these were my people, and we were together all the time, and now we catch up like, you know, when we can, and I just hate that so much. And like I give it, you know, a lot of credit to my friend Gabe for bringing cold calling back into the friendship. He's on a cold calling, like this is like his version of like a protest where he's just been like, I'm calling you all, and if one of you doesn't answer, I'm moving on to the next person. until someone answers, and we're gonna have a conversation because we need to bring back cold calls. And
this is fascinating because it's fascinating because I was up with my parents on Monday, and we were talking about because my mom, I said something about this one job I applied for, and I'm like, yeah, they emailed me that they didn't take me. She goes, well, I guess that's just what people do. And I was like, I don't want them to call me. I don't want any human ever to call me. I don't want to take the time. I have to sit there and walk around like this where I can't do anything. No, I don't want a phone call. But I did say, I go, but I think you're going to find, especially with AI and all those things, that I think the younger generations and the younger folks are going to rebel against that. And you'll start to see more humanity, more connections, as weird as it seems to say. And you're kind of proving that here.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think we're just like, we're in a pressure cooker, right? And like, now we're just like getting to that point where like I'm starting to react in different ways. Like I've been ranting a lot to family recently about how we were too documented and like how they weren't documented enough. Like I was talking to my mom the other day.
Oh, I took that in a totally different direction. Yep. Okay. Yep.
And, what did you mean?
We're like, we're documented. It's like, where are we going with this? What are we doing?
We are too literally.
What ICE hotline are we calling here? What's going on?
Nobody mentioned them. I live in Florida. I don't know anything. I know nothing. Lawyer. That's the only word I know. And we got into this topic somehow of like, when we were born, and like, my mom was telling me funny stuff that I didn't know about the day I was born and things. And my mom revealed that she doesn't know anything about the day that she was born. She never asked. And now everybody that could tell her is dead. And I was like, that's because you guys didn't write stuff down. You guys didn't have like, you're journaling, and that's basically it. The stories were all verbal. Maybe someone had like a camera, but like it wasn't, something that everybody instinctively had. So that rabbit hole led us to the technology conversation, and then that led us to this. And I was like, there are things that I wish I could have had. Like I wouldn't trade the amount of documenting that we have, because I can pull up 20 different Facebook albums from specific birthday parties of my friends in high school, and like different things that I love sometimes sifting through those because I'm very like sentimental and lame like that. But then on the flip though, it's like this whole like, yeah, I'll put a Zoom link in the Facebook Messenger, and if you guys are available, we can catch up for a while. It's like, what? Why? And we have to schedule everything. Like, I'm not even talking Hangouts, because that's hell.
Right.
Like Hangouts is actual hell. First, no one lives close anymore. Like that I accept is impossible. And then you've got, like some of your like longtime best friends are in the same city as you, but they might as well be on different planets just because of the way the city is and the way life is and the way careers are,
Yeah. Tonight I'm having two of my oldest friends that I've known since 10th grade. Who live in LA, they're coming over tonight for a fire pit. And I've seen them maybe 5 times in the last 10 years.
Jesus.
We text every now and then, but yeah.
Has it ever bothered you, like in that time?
No, because we always were, I call them Hall of Fame friends, they're there, they're enshrined. But life takes us in different ways. One got married, one got divorced, one has 3 kids, the other one has a new girlfriend. Like, and it's just, that's the way it happens. But recently I did say I do, we have the shared inside jokes of our own nostalgia. And so I was like, hey, I missed you guys, because obviously what I'm going through, and I am alone right now, and I am lonely, and I am going slightly crazy, and I am talking to squirrels, crows, and feral cats. So I was like, would you guys like to come over? So I'm looking forward to it a lot, very much looking forward to it. But I didn't seek it out. So, by the way, this isn't a fun debate. Like, I'm not trying to faux debate you. I think this is fascinating. I think it is really, truly fascinating what you're talking about here, of the desire to have connection, where a lot of people in my generation want less connection over the years, which maybe is why we created some of the things as a generation that led to less connection. But
we're in the systems that you guys built
to
maybe hide a little. And now, like, you guys built this labyrinth that we've all been walking through, and now we're like, oh, can we get out of that? Like, is there an exit?
And is there a difference to I'm seeing, there's a lot of names we know in chat. We have our regulars and everything like that. But like, it's interesting to see Molly and Alex here, who I consider 2 of my favorite people. I consider them friends. But I've been around them 6 times in person. Maybe it's probably more now. But it's like our friendship was started in a different way. And And so I don't.
Same with you and I. We've been around each other.
Same with you. Four times. Yeah, 4 times. So I don't feel the loss of not having them or you around. And it's weird because Nikki's in town, and I really want to go hang out with Nikki more. But because I met him online, I don't feel. You know what it's like? I don't seek it out. I'm not missing. If you want to
find him specifically right now, he is in a bathing suit, feet up in Palm Springs with his laptop out, working on a screenplay. And I am not exaggerating. You go to his Instagram story, and he is doing the most California shit that he's ever done today.
I love that. But you know what I mean? But I met some of the other people in my life that I began my friendships with, analog, if you will. Yeah, I do miss them. And the friends tonight, I miss them. They're coming over.
That's a great point. Yeah, like when I
Molly says, come to San Francisco next weekend. I so don't like that town. I so can't go to that town. I don't like that town. It's such a bad city.
I would go if I wasn't broke. Yeah, Alex and Molly are a good example where like every time I see them, I feel like I've known them like forever, and like I just saw like it just like clicks back in. But like these things are digital. Your friendship with
it's fascinating. It's an interesting. You're not wrong at all here. It's fascinating.
I think Plume has a great comment here that the hatred of phone calls amongst folks of a certain age, we will let y'all decide what that certain age is because of a trauma response to mobile phones, making people always reachable compared to a time when that wasn't possible. Yeah, always reachable, the anxiety, there was no specialness. I guess specialness was removed from it. It's fascinating. And it made me realize like I wouldn't trade away my time. I think that sometimes my age group of like the last millennials and like cutting into Z, like sometimes there's like I wish I lived in this decade, and it's like, no, you don't. Like you realistically, you fucking don't. Like we'd be rolling back so much, and some of it very real. But there is stuff that I wish that we could cherry pick out, and one of those is just like being on the phone with your buddy, and like some of the best times that I've had over the past couple of years are sitting outside watching my dog play with some devil's lettuce and a cup of coffee, and my friend Gabe calls me or my friend Deanna calls me or whatever, and we just kick around just ideas or just catch up, or I hear about who's dating who, and like we just go full like old lady, like just like did you see that such and such had a baby? Like
it's look, I get it. Like Josh McCouga called me yesterday and we wanted to catch up. And we'll text every day sometimes. And me and him and Mark Ellis in a text thread. But he wanted to talk. And I was happy to do it. We talked for about 45 minutes. But I had to be doing something else. I can no longer just sit there on a phone. I feel it's a wasted opportunity to do work or get something done. So I'll put in headphones and I'll go do something while I'm talking to you. And then I can do it. So maybe that's what I need to do. And then Alden, you and I can talk on the phone.
I love that. I look forward to it. Final thought on this, and then we'll move on to the main topic. Molly said, I remember there was a chance you would call your friend and their parent or sibling would answer, and you have to make small talk with them. Now, to put into perspective of when that died, I think I could put a death date on that. It was when Alden was in 6th grade, because I remember the last time I ever interacted with someone's house phone. And it was in 6th grade. I had a little 6th grade girlfriend. Her name was Danielle Vargas. Shout out Danielle. And again, because we're all so plugged in, I follow her. I still know what she's up to and everything. And she was the last person I knew that had a house phone. And I remember calling her to like chat with her, and her mom and dad answered, and they were giving me like the runaround. And like, I'm 11. It's like, just let me talk to your 11. You're like, what are you doing? Just like, this is so unnecessary. But yeah,
I think what you're talking about, and Plume is right here. The chance of having to talk to anyone other than the person I wanted to talk to was
yeah.
This is why little teenage Kenny did not ask girls out on little movie dates or anything. Number one, my mom wouldn't have let it. But two, like the idea of having to call over to their house to get Layla's number and call over there and have someone not her answer. And then I couldn't do it. So I there you go. I stayed alone till 28.
Damn.
Till I didn't have to call anymore. I could message on MySpace.
Now we're finding a lot of truth. This went from why did you guys get away from this to, oh, you're all fucked up. You all lived in fear. I see what happened.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So I did say we're going to go to main topic, but I do want to give Ken a few minutes to address the passing of the now late great George Wendt, who passed earlier this week. I know it was just like a huge fixture for so many people. I'm one of those people where it's like, you know, Cheers was a product of the past, and I watched Frasier without knowing that Cheers existed when I was a kid, which is like such a inverse thing. But for you guys, this is like iconic, can't miss, the show. So I know, and on Force Center this week, you guys talked about Cheers, and I think it was like right before the news broke.
It was right before,
and it was so weird because I heard it after. So yeah, dive into to George Wendt a little bit.
I mean, you know, what I love about Wendt is also about that time period. This is a show that I again wasn't allowed to watch really until late, but I've since, you know, over the years taken the deep dive in and love the show. But that was my point. That's my point. It's like, even though I wasn't allowed to watch the show, I knew who Norm was, right? And I think we have that still, but we don't have it to that degree. And he was there. That whole cast was there. The whole era of people there, and it is absolutely. We all face it. He's the same. George was 76. He was the same age as my mom. I'm very blessed to have my parents not only alive but well and helping me in tough times. But that starts to run through your head, and it's these staples that you just always feel are there. I hadn't seen Wendt in a while. Again, I can't remember the last time he was performing regularly, but he popped up in something, and I did one of those like, "Who's that?" kind of reactions, and it was George, and it just kind of, it hurts your heart in a way. Not aging is natural and aging is part of it. It isn't a shame of aging. It's just that so much of you is passing away as well when these icons pass away. He was great. He was the everyman. He was in his 30s. He was like early 30s when Cheers started. Oh my gosh. I was just watching, speaking of age, I was watching Waiting for Guffman last night, and one of my favorite films, and Catherine O'Hara is great in the movie. She's 41 in the film. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, you know, these old folks are really funny in this movie. So age, so when that affects me too when icons like this pass. But Cheers is to me a perfect show, one of the perfect shows out there, and a lot of it has to do with Norm and George Wendt and his appearances on SNL and getting Sudeikis on SNL and
his nephew,
those kind of things. Yeah, his nephew.
Yeah, his actual nephew, for those of y'all that didn't know. So and that's the thing, is like Sudeikis is already, you know, gray in the beard, and like, you know, he's in, so I don't want to say the latter part of his career, certainly I hope not, but like he's already considered like a comedy veteran, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's so strange that he at some point was like, hey, my nephew's funny, like you should give him a try.
Hey Lauren,
like,
hey Lauren, and it's it's, to me, it's about the passage of time, and age is just a number, and we live in an era where, you know, you can be hot and sexy to your 80s, it doesn't matter, or beyond. We're in a different era in that regard, and I think that's a thing I really appreciate. But like, even going to Waiting for Guffman, you know, I was just kind of doing a checkup on all the cast on Wikipedia after the movie, as I often do, and like Parker Posey's 56, 57 now. You know, great, good stuff. But it's like, I was there. She was the it girl. She was the indie queen. She was this 26-year-old ingenue. And it's like, to me, all that, not only is she locked into that time, but I'm locked into that time. And that's why the jokes of sometimes I think the previous decade is the 90s are so real. And so passing like someone like George Wendt, who was just there always, for me, is sad on many levels. And he was just a talent.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I just wanted to let a Cheers fan talk about this great guy whose work I only ever really knew at a little bit of a distance, but it was cool to see all the fun stories.
Yeah, have you done the Cheers watch on Netflix or something?
I haven't. No, I've seen all of Frasier and none of Cheers.
Yeah, which I get. Frasier was the spinoff it was the what announcement? Like, they're doing a series about Andor? Like, what are we doing? But I love Frasier. I absolutely love Frasier. It was a great show.
Frasier really taught me about the revolution. That's what it was.
Yeah. But I think that pilot, the first episode of Cheers, is still to be a perfect pilot, and I highly recommend it.
And in a lot of ways, maybe one of the most ripped off things of all time, even if not directly, just in terms of format and like spirit, and then sort of laying the groundwork. So yeah. Anyway, yes, this is 8984M. Brady finds out today. Fraser is a spinoff. Yes, he's a supporting character in Cheers. So the main topic today, George Wendt does not apply to. May he rest in peace. Not a crazy person. We're gonna kick this around for the next 20-30 minutes.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, that's it.
Crazy people, man. I'm fascinated by them. And I don't mean, and I specified this when I put the call out to people. I got some great suggestions that came in. I'm not talking about evil people that are funny. So let's put the Republican Party on the shelf. Like, although there might be some crossover, but like, I'm not talking about, insane killers. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about people that, as far as we know, are just doing their entertainment job or just existing or whatever, but they are whacked. And we use Tom Cruise as the headline here because Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning opens this weekend. And I'm very excited to see it. And I think a lot of us have I would describe it as a complicated relationship, not with Tom, but like we're just enjoying Tom's work, where it's like we all know for a unequivocal fact that he is in a cult. And it's like he is not just in it, it's very important in it.
It's like an elite alien. Yeah.
He's a key member. Some might describe him as like the Tarkin of this situation.
He's a key master. Yeah.
So it's like, I want to acknowledge all that. I want to put all the caveats on this. So like, you don't need to go into the comments right now and talk about how it's irresponsible to discuss him. I want to acknowledge that I know it is somewhat irresponsible to lionize him as the savior of art and all these things that people do. I don't necessarily think that, but like, I'm putting that all out there because I think he is the epitome of what we're talking about. There'll be some examples not as severe. I also have Gwyneth Paltrow on my list. I think she's weird. I don't think she's in a cult.
That we know of. Yeah.
That we know of. So it's like Tom Cruise fascinates me because it's like he is so almost like, Jared was arguing with me off air about like, not arguing, but like debating about like certain people that could be in. And I was like, no, it's not what I mean. I'm talking about a break from reality. Like that's really what I'm talking about, or at least no regard for their safety, or like no regard for the norms. Like I'm not talking about people that do bold and dangerous things, because then every wrestler would qualify. But there is a tier of wrestler that is absolutely a crazy person, and Tom Cruise, he's this figure where it's like nobody maybe ever has been more dedicated to the art of cinema, but he's dedicated to it in a way where I actually believe, especially in conjunction with some of his beliefs, that he does think that like saving movies could save the planet. And like, I do think that he thinks that like dying during one of these stunts would be honorable. And I said this on Twitter way back, and I stand by it, that Tom Cruise, if Van Gogh was alive now, would probably be like, yeah, man, yeah, you got to cut off that ear sometimes, man. Like it makes the art better. Like he is so whacked. And like there's that clip going around of him now where somebody very innocently, it wasn't a gotcha, I don't think, asked him about Father's Day because it's coming up. It was one of those things where it felt like a question they just asked every man that came through. But like obviously this is a interesting and concerning person to ask about Father's Day because he has no contact with his children because of the cult that he's in. But it was handled fairly well. And Tom goes, yeah, man, just having fun, man, adventures, making movies. And it's like, holy shit, this is a crazy man, but we love him.
I told you that's my weirdest quote celebrity sighting, right? Is I used to go attend birthday parties where Suri Cruz was part of the party. Like she was
because
there
of her mother, like someone.
She went to school. No, she went to school with my one of my best friend's daughters.
Oh wow!
And so I'd go to these in his backyard. These were like pool parties, or one year was a like Harry Potter thing, whatever. This was like 10 years ago, and she was always there with her like nurse, not nurse, but you know what I mean, guardian.
Yeah,
staff guardian. It was sweet kid. Now she's not a kid. Now she's a young adult. But yeah, I think about it often when we're out there. Where I was like, he's just publicly just cut off his children and he praises Xenu. What? Yeah.
But at the same time, nobody runs like him, and we all love him, and we love him. and we know, like it's so fascinating. Like it's like there's a lot of stuff that comes up, and like I'm also putting Michael Jackson on the shelf just because I don't want to get into like depressing and dark, and that's my prerogative.
But for a long time that was the answer, I think, too.
But that would have been the answer, and that also was like but we didn't know.
We didn't know.
People might get to like 99% surety, and people can think what they want. And again, please, we don't need to litigate the Michael Jackson case in the comments. But like, but like with Tom Cruise, it's a 100% demonstrable fact, and yet we're still just like, look at him go. The other day, he was like, they asked him about a quote he gave where he said he's going to make movies into his 80s, and he's like, 80s, I might make them into my hundreds. And we were all like, yeah. And then it's like, but he's not. He's insane. So that's the starting point.
Okay.
And then, Ken, I'm going to read off to you some names, some of them from our listeners, and then you tell me anyone that you want to stop on or someone else you'd like to add.
Yeah, this is great. And there's some names already tossed out in chat, but it's like some of them are problematic. Some of it's just different. It's different.
And again, also,
there might be bodies in Cruise's past. I don't know. Allegedly, I don't know, but we don't know.
Allegedly. And there are some that I don't think qualify, but I'll note those. But they're listener suggestions, and I want to be fair.
Okay.
My second one. So we had Cruise. Second one was David Lee Roth. That is just a fact. He's great.
Yeah.
David
Less
Lee Roth is
impactful, but yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
Just
with
an
that
insane person. We had him for a phoner once, in like the 8 a.m. hour. It was way too early for that. It was way too early for what David Lee Roth was offering. Nathan Fielder, current comedian and television host from Nathan For You and The Rehearsal. Okay. If you've never watched The Rehearsal, Ken, I'm not even recommending it to you because I don't even really think I don't know if you'd enjoy it.
I don't like his style of comedy. I don't like him.
He is an insane human being. This is a twofer. Andy Kaufman and Jim Carrey, just like as an ecosystem, as a two-man.
I agree. Creation. Both of those. Yeah. Both of those. Carrey's, he's in there quietly.
Kaufman, maybe. Like, that's a historical crazy where like we'll never, he passed so young that we'll never have it fully figured out, and like maybe if he had become an old man, we would have learned maybe more.
Yeah. Full disclosure, love Andy Kaufman. Absolutely love him. I don't know if everything he did would stand up to the test of time now, but in a different way than what other people did, because a lot of his stuff was, if you were offended by it, that was, he was testing you. He was doing some kind of social experiment. It's fascinating to tell. And then Carrey to play him, that doc about him, I love Man on the Moon, and the doc about, was it Jim and Andy?
Jim and Andy will freak you out.
It's fascinating stuff.
And like Jim and Andy is one of those things where it's like about 45 minutes into it, I remember watching it when it came out. I was like, I'm still not sure that this documentary in and of itself is not a continuation of the bit. But the point is that you can't know. Guys, I'm not shitting you. There's a moment in this documentary, which is all footage that they didn't feel comfortable releasing, allegedly.
Yeah, the studio was like, fuck no. Yeah.
The studio was like, we got to kill all this. It's going to ruin Jim. It's going to ruin the production. And in character as Andy Kaufman speaks to Andy's daughter as her deceased father. And it's like, that's next level. I love Jim. I grew up on Jim Carrey. The Mask was a formative like movie for me. I think, not all of his stuff stands the test of time, not like in a horrible way, but like there are some there are some things in like the Ace Ventura movies that are not great to certain communities and things. And like,
yeah. But it's like different but with Jim. Yeah, it's different
for sure. But like, I don't think that Jim now, like I would be comfortable having him around, but also he's insane. Like he is a wacky person.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow, just like, what's going on, girl? What are you doing?
That's fascinating because I was a big fan of Gwyneth. Late 90s Gwyneth is great stuff. Great Expectations, Shakespeare in Love, Sliding Doors. Love her work during that time. Legitimately love her work. I think she's great. And then the Goop and all the stuff that followed. It's pretty wild.
And then like her like select, and again, I know this is a real like condition that some people have, so I don't want to make light of it, like memory loss and things, but like she has this selective sort of like woo goop memory loss shit where like, remember when she was on like it was on Favreau's chef show, I think. And Favreau's like, like we were in Spider-Man. She's like, I wasn't in Spider-Man. And John's like, yeah, we did a scene together. Me, you, and Robert in Spider-Man. And she's like, no, I was in Avengers. And he's like, yeah, and Spider-Man. And like she's just on a different planet sometimes.
Indeed.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Indeed.
David Lynch has come up here and in the comments. By the way, sorry, y'all, I forgot to write down people that suggested some of these, so I apologize. I know some of them are from Tully Quinn, some of them are from Addie, some of them are from. There's a few different people that suggested things, and I appreciate you all. David Lynch, crazy but aware, like aware that he was on a different plane.
Yeah,
a little
bit.
Again, a little more low key. Weird Al, I also think is like. Weird Al to me is like his art is crazy, but I think he's fully functioning.
I think he's so normal that's what makes it seem crazy. Yeah.
I think that this, that's a comedian working. Carrie Fisher came up a few times. I think she would probably say that she cared, but like also very aware. Like, she went through things that like we think crazy people would go through, breakdowns, shock therapy.
Different category for me. Yeah,
different. That's more of a mental illness conversation. Salvador Dali, that's probably a great historical crazy, but also. Did we not just have the verbiage at the time to understand them? Werner Herzog, I'd put in that Lynch category. Conan O'Brien came up as a crazy person, and I maybe in terms of like reckless abandon, like crazy sense of humor, influenced a lot of crazies. But like, I also think Conan is probably very mild mannered in life.
He is. I have, to be clear, I've only been around Andy Richter. I've not been around Conan, but my Groundlings director was in advanced class with Conan, the Groundlings in the 80s. And I say this with a little bragging, Alden. She pulled me aside. She goes, "You remind me a lot of Conan." In that Conan would sit quietly in the back and not speak to anyone for a long time and then just go up on stage and do his wonderful work. You have that kind of energy. In fact, when he got to SNL, when he got to late night, everyone at the Groundlings was like, Conan can't carry a conversation with one person. He's so quiet and shy. So there gives the impression of some sort of crazy. Like the turn on, where does that button come? Where does that go button come from? And I love Conan, but I can't watch his travel show. He's got that travel show out. Can't watch it. He drives me crazy in it. And I know it's bits and everything. I can't. There's an energy there. I'm just like, I can't deal with this because it's almost like he almost turns into an asshole. He's almost an asshole for the bit, and it's like, so it's a little crazy energy to me.
Molly says the Mark Twain special is really good. Yes, it is. I recommend everybody watch that. He received the Mark Twain prize. Tully Quinn says Prince. I think that's a good suggestion in his own way. There's David Mackay says Nick Cage.
I was gonna say Nick Cage, but okay, this is a great one. I was gonna say Nick Cage, but the thing is, have we turned him into a crazy person, or was he always? Because he had the career, he had the solid career, the Oscar, and then he kind of falls off for a while, right? He falls off, and then he kind of reemerges as Nick Cage. You got a movie for $75? I'll do it. Like, and then and we kind of elevate him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that ties in with the next person. I'll put them together with Jeff Goldblum, where it's like these are guys that had, like, Goldblum was always a little bit like he had that character actor energy.
He's
like, have they
slightly creepy? Just
have they created though, like the persona of them? Like,
Goldblum's an interesting one. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
he's a little handsy. I know some stories. But I like him.
Jared complaining in the comments that his suggestion got shot down. He said he told me George Lucas.
Yes.
George Lucas is not.
George is bonkers.
I don't think he's a crazy person though.
Again, we're having fun with the word term, the term crazy, and I hope everyone gets the spirit of the conversation. But
sure.
George is absolutely bonkers. He's absolutely.
But George did not have a break with reality.
I don't think George was in reality. I think he died. I think he's an angel.
He died in the car crash,
and he's an angel. I don't think he ever returned to Earth as who he was. But he's absolutely. There's so much going on there.
Too aware. He's too aware. This what I'm about to say is a really deep cut nerdy thing, and I apologize for the level of virginity that is about to spike through your screens and devices. But like, there was a point in the Batman comics where Grant Morrison, who also might be crazy, suggested that the Joker, it was like their read on the Joker was that the Joker is not insane. The Joker is super sane. And that the Joker is so sane that the Joker is functioning on like a plane that like we can't comprehend. And it was like this whole like meta blah 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 blah. And I honestly think that kind of applies to George. George is not actually crazy. It's just that George is so consistently ahead on every single thing that like
yes,
this is where we're at. Like
George sees colors that other people do not see.
Like a little shrimp. You know, they have those little bullet shrimp where they're like they see like 800 like there's like the
just like the bullet shrimp.
You know, those
just
like you guys know. You guys know that he's like the he's like the bullet shrimp. Everybody says that about George. You guys all know. Yeah. Claudia Dolph's here.
Hey, Claudia
Dolph in the comment in forever. Hello. Nicholson. Yeah, that was definitely
Nicholson's. But here's the one thing too that's fascinating. Like even just talking about it, you reach a certain level of fame in this kind of entertainment world. We're talking mostly about entertainers, right? Sure. You have to be some sort of sociopath to get to where you are. Like as much as I love Gaga, I would absolutely believe there's a strain of crazy going on in there, and I don't mean like crazy woman. I'm just like to go to that level, experience it, like and to keep going. I don't think it's natural for any of these people to keep going into the depths of fame that they are. I think there's a little break that has to happen, maybe for self-preservation.
And you know that's something that it talks about with wrestling. You know, like that. You know, we could list out 100 different wrestlers that qualify on different levels. The wrestler that goes in there nowadays, like the guys that were like the indie darlings of the 2000s or the 2010s that approach it like an art form and a craft and are very open about it, and kayfabe is dead and like all that. That's a very different type of performer than the live the gimmick brother guys that sort of built the industry. And those people, a lot of them have had a little bit of a break with reality and don't know where they start and the character starts and they end and the character ends. And yeah, like that's a lot. I mean, we haven't even brought up Kanye. And that's, you know, that doesn't need to be brought up. And also I'm talking about the greatest crazy people too. Like that's the other thing is like,
but it's kind of that thing, you know, kind of that thing. It's just like, you know, you even in this social media world and building our careers, and you know, as much as I want a bigger, bolder career with social media, like I don't have the energy to post. It's not even about the energy. The mindset to post 8 times a day to get that algorithm going. Like after one, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need anyone else knowing me at this point today. I'm good.
Yeah. No, I hear you. This was brought up by Andy on Blue Sky and by Maddie here. I just lost the comment, but overall, you know, we had Bam, Knoxville, Steve-O, the whole Jackass core crew. Randon, like these are also insane people that, you know, if they didn't have a break with reality, they had no regard for their well-being. Like they're and I think that is definitely a level of crazy for sure. That said, having spent a few hours with Steve-O in a work capacity, he is, and I maintain, one of the kindest and most thoughtful human beings that I ever met through work. So unbelievably chill. And to a shocking degree is he sweet and calm. Like you just would not expect that.
So's Cruz. The whole reason we're here for this conversation.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who work with him who are like bad coworker. You know, I don't hear those stories.
No. And the one time that Cruz did blow up, that audio that came out for somebody breaking COVID protocol, he was right.
I contend to this day he was right. He was right.
He was right. I'm sorry, he was right. And I know that was a big thing of like, don't yell at people like that on a crew. He wasn't yelling at them for no reason. It was a health.
He's got multi-million dollars in sunk into the. Yeah, no, I
people's jobs, which he said in the rant. He was right. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I to this day, it's the old boss in me comes out for that scene. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I've thrown chairs. Sometimes.
He wasn't belittling them as a human. He was saying things like, people's jobs are on the line. Like he's just being real. It happens.
Yeah. Is that a hot take from 5 years ago? I don't know. I remember hearing that audio and thinking, I'm not getting mad at him over this. You need to do your fucking job. You
It
need to do your
wasn't the
job.
Christian Bale one where he did belittle that guy for pretty much.
Oh yeah, the Bale one,
That was
and quite frankly, there's someone else who's a little off, and and
Well,
we
method acting did come up in the comments.
Yeah.
The great Daniel Day-Lewis,
Daniel Day, I would say
the greatest, maybe of all time. Joaquin,
Yeah.
the Christian Bale. People now have talked about, who's the young guy that like Barry Keoghan, he comes up. Ken Plume brings in David Byrne. I think that is a great example of a great crazy person.
Of a great artistic crazy. Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. David Byrne, very much in that Gaga.
Well, yeah,
realm.
yes, and Bowie in New York was the most. There's that great doc about Bowie in New York at the end of his life. He was so normal. He was so just let's go get a drink and work out and hang out. But at the same time, quite a ride to get there.
Yeah. Andrew Cunningham says, have you mentioned Terrence 1 + 1 = 1 Howard yet? Terrence Howard, man, come on. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I saw that clip. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What is happening there?
We're Team Don Cheadle here.
What else sticks out to you, Ken, just about this conceptually of like not so much like the Tom Cruise of like we make excuses for like bad things and like things like that, but that could be part of it. But like are you fascinated by these people in the way that I am?
Oh, totally.
Why do you think that is? What about it is for you like draws you to somebody where you're like something is not right?
Because usually the output is great. Usually these are the great artists. Usually they are the great athletes. Though it's a different conversation. I talked yesterday in the Blathering about the documentary Untold: The Fall of Brett Favre. That's a different kind of problem. That's not even crazy. That's evil. That's malicious. But like to the Cruise of it all, it's easy to overlook a lot of things. But for someone like him, it's part of the package. And I think that's what you're trying to wrap your head around and what I'm trying to wrap my head around. It is not one thing to be like, oh, I love that guy in a concert. Oh, but I know he does some weird things. You go to a Cruise movie now, you're buying the ticket to see how crazy that mother trucker is. That's why you're there. And so that, I don't know why. I don't know, but we're just always drawn to that. We're drawn to the circus performers. We're drawn to the spectacle.
There's an enigmatic, like, maybe I think this is honestly part of it, to get like kind of heady for a second, building off of that. I think there's a part of us that wishes we were all more complicated. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think there's a part of it where it's like I know that I've had moments like that recently with some people that I would not describe as crazy. Maybe not yet. We'll see where their careers go. But you look at like Chappell Roan or like, The Last Dinner Party, two artists that I put you on because there's the lesbians to Alden to Ken pipeline of discovering music. And I don't see any of those women as crazy, but I do envy them in the sense that I wish that I had more colors in my, not literally. I know a lot of you will be like, yeah, Alden, you need to wear more colors. I get it. But that's what I'm talking about.
Don't wear more colors.
That's not what I'm talking about. But by the way, it's so funny whenever you see like a picture of you and I together, because now thrice we've both had to have black denim on. We're getting very predictable out here. Getting very predictable in these streets.
All I'm going to be in for the rest of my days.
And bury this man in his black denim.
Because I'm a little crazy.
Yeah. But I'm like, I do get to that moment where I'm like, I wish that I, wore mismatched socks. I wish that I, painted my nails. I wish that and nothing is stopping me from doing these things. But it's like, why do some people not feel that they need that push, or maybe they do, or maybe they don't? Like, where is the like, leaping without looking for like these small adjustments? And that's what separates, I think, a lot of us from these people that we're fascinated by, is that when you ask Tom Cruise like how he achieves goals, he's like, well, so write down those goals and then take each one and then break that down into small, like, there is a methodology there, but it just feels like there's such a distance between us and them.
You're speaking of, I think I get what you're saying, where it's someone living their full life without inhibitions in a way that I'm drawn to. But even though they're normal, listen, I got friends, who wear the mismatch socks and wear bow ties when they shouldn't and all those kind of things. And their love for that. And I love them for that. And I think I've tried to become that over the years. This is why, I was a suit and tie wearing, director, boss for a while. And it's like, you're buttoned up on purpose. You have to be buttoned up. And I think once I got out of that, it was why I wanted to fight against it, to try to because it's overcoming inhibitions, it's overcoming fear, right? And when you see some of these folks, and sometimes it's all made up, it's all make believe, it's all red carpet, it's all it's Chapel versus Kaylee, but it's Stephanie versus Gaga, but it's like we see the image, and I'm not talking about the fake image, just we see them true as those are. I love those people because they're artists. Yeah. I love Bowie because he's an artist, and they do step over that divide that keeps us on one side, and I think that's why we're drawn to him, including Cruise on the side of an airplane.
Absolutely, Cal with a great one here as we start to wind down. Paul Rubens, can't believe we didn't mention him. That is a great one. The late great Paul Rubens, who had certainly troubles, and now we know so much more about him. And can view his career through the lens of his personal struggle of being, closeted and all that. But just to be able to, again, to create the public facing Pee-wee that would define him more than being Paul Rubens would ever define him, that's a level of commitment that people like Bowie, they had characters at different eras, or or right now, I already mentioned her, Chapel Roan is a character. And Kaylee, the woman who is Chapel Roan, has tried to get ahead of it as much as possible, of this is a project that I do. And but there are those rare people that I think Paul Rubens falls into, where it's not an era and it's not a project where it will define you forever. And it never ends, and he was never off. I, as a kid, I just thought that was that guy. I thought he was Herman, and that Pee-wee was a nickname. And that but he was just this guy. And that's very, live the gimmick, that's that doesn't happen as much anymore, of somebody that's just in it all the time. The Kiss guys gave up on that in the 90s. They kept characters going, but they were we can't do this masked up shit anymore. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
Yeah. What's the thing you want to do? What's the divide you want to jump?
I think we got.
What's your crazy?
Start small. We gotta start small. I mean, when you painted your nails recently, I remember being I think we need to start inching into it. I think maybe I will do mismatched socks. None of you will ever be able to prove this because I don't post feet.
Okay.
Although for the right price,
we'll tell.
Times are tough, so it's for the right price, I will post feet. To be very clear,
these socks will tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think for years I've been saying I want to dye my hair a different color, and I never do. Okay. And it's what's stopping me?
What is stopping you?
Nothing.
What is stopping?
It's like Addie said in the comments, these inhibitions. Addie said it eloquently. I'm not going to scroll up and find it because I lost it. But it was I'm envy of those. I live in envy of those people who live without inhibitions, and it's as the great prophet once said, release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin.
Yeah, this is why I drink.
Yeah, that's how
I'm so tightly wound and built on fear. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, and I also think you mentioned fear there, and I've already brought this up once with the Batman stuff, but I think that's why Batman endures, and why Batman has a popularity that other superheroes don't, is that he is crazy. And I think we're looking for an outlet in because Luke Skywalker's not crazy, Indiana Jones is not crazy, Superman's not crazy, Spider-Man's not crazy, James Bond, etc. All these people are sort of either aspirational or they're the height of dedication and all these things. And Bruce Wayne, though, is a fundamentally broken child who had a break with reality, who is trying to control fate. And who's trying? It's a Batman as an identity is a trauma response, and I think that's why everybody, even people that are I don't really like that stuff, they'll get sucked into the Dark Knight or the Batman or you know, whatever it is, because it's like, wow, we all wish that like we could do that on a fundamental level. So
there you go.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
Anyway,
okay, we're gonna
talk about crazy folks, y'all. Great talk about crazy folks of all shades. You know, we started with crazy people that I hate, the flat earthers, and we ended with some crazy people that I really, really love. Why did we do this topic this week, you might ask? Well, because if I start talking about anything else that happened this week, I'm going to become one of these crazy people. Like,
but
it is like
break.
I'm going to have a break with reality on air. It's not that we're not going to do any like news-based episodes coming up, you know. But like, we're grooving, we're having fun having these conversations with you. Yeah. As Tully said, revolution is not for the sane. Yeah, there's a crazy. Well, not even a good or bad, just a crazy. No, I feel you, buddy. There's a lot out there going on. So out there, community is important. Make sure you're not joining a cult, or you are thinking the Earth is flat and surrounded by 200-foot wall of ice. But no matter how you contact your people, text, phone, Skype, Zoom, Fortnite, say hi to some people. Xenu, say hi to some people this weekend. Let's all do that together. That's the divide we're going to leap over today in this weekend. Indeed. Yeah, and as Plume says, hit the like button if you haven't already. One day I'll remember to say that. Like it, share it, casually talk.
You know why we don't say it, Alden? Because we're not completely crazy enough to succeed.
That might be true.
That's the problem.
That might be true.
Casually Talk live in about 90 minutes over on Casually Talk's YouTube page. Be fun, hang out. We've got some great questions we're going to get to, and then clip those out so we can keep the channel going in some way or another. All right, that's it. We're going to do our thing. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.